聚会见到一个以前追过我的男生。
At a gathering, I saw a guy who used to pursue me. 2 days ago, I attended a high school reunion and met a boy who had once pursued me. I remember that he used to be short, had dark skin, and dressed a bit unfashionably. In short, the kind of guy who didn't stand out at all. At the time, I didn't have much interest in him. In fact, I could say I wasn't interested in him at all. However, this time when we met again, his transformation shocked me. He is now an executive at a major company, and his entire demeanor is completely different from back then. He exudes confidence and maturity, speaks gracefully and clearly, leads a very successful and happy life. His current lifestyle is full of the aura of success and happiness. What struck me most is that the man I looked down on in my early 20s has turned out to be so outstanding at the age of 38, perfectly matching my current criteria for a partner. Not only has he achieved career success, but his personality and appearance have also undergone a complete makeover, aligning exactly with what I now look for. Unfortunately, he is already married with children, and it is clear that we are not meant to be. This stark contrast made me sigh with emotion. Truly, if I could have another chance, I definitely wouldn't wait until my 30s to get married or look for a partner. I would make sure to find someone in my 20s and get married as soon as possible. Honestly, when you reach your 30s, you realize you don't even know how to chat with the opposite sex anymore. You just eat whatever they offer, don't even want to make eye contact, and lose curiosity about everything. You haven't experienced things, so you don't find them interesting. By your 30s, you'll find yourself thinking, is that all there is to it? I already know everything. Now, trying to find a suitable partner feels incredibly difficult. First, you need to be able to connect and share the same understanding. Other things might not matter as much, but finding someone with the same mindset and someone you can talk to is just so hard. After 30 years of habits, knowledge, experiences, and people you've met, the differences between people become vast. The gap in personal growth becomes huge. So the longer you're out in society, the fewer marriage prospects you have. I'm telling everyone you must marry early, ideally before 28. Get yourself married off, because after 30, you'll realize the quality of people you meet through matchmaking drops, and the number of prospects dwindles. People will introduce you to any man just because you're older, regardless of whether you're a good match. Matchmakers will think you're old, you don't deserve better, and they'll just push any man your way. As you get older, no matter how outstanding you are, unless you're extremely lucky and marry someone you're truly satisfied with, your options are limited. It's either someone with good family conditions but lacking in personality, or someone who seems decent but has poor financial conditions, or a divorcee without kids, or a divorcee with kids. The choices are truly few and far between. Sometimes I don't even know why I let myself get delayed to this age. I was serious and devoted. When I was in relationships and I worked hard and stayed focused at my job, you'd think hardworking people would be a bit luckier, right? But I wasn't. I feel like nothing has gone smoothly for me. I always try to stay positive, telling myself, everything happens for my benefit. But it's been 5 years, and I still don't know where this mindset has gotten me or what it's turned me into. You're 35 and still not married. At this age, my parents want to urge me openly, but are afraid of pushing me too far. If they don't urge me, they're anxious on their own. If I act like I don't care, that's not okay either. I'm this old, I still need to get married. But if I start caring more, there's still no one suitable around me. People think I'm too picky, but that's really not the case. You're a man. Do you think you're worth 800,000 yuan? Am I worth 800,000? No, I'm worth 18 million. Huh, you're not even worth 800 yuan. Got it. You come up demanding 800,000. Who's going to pay 800,000 to marry a 38 or 40-year-old leftover woman who still thinks she's superior hilarious? Hello, everyone. I don't want to avoid the issue anymore. I want to face myself. I'm that woman who's cut off water and electricity demanding an 800,000 yuan dowry. Ouyang Weiwei. I'm 38 years old, a master's graduate, 168 meters tall, 128 pounds, currently unmarried and childless. And now I feel like my life is so miserable. I deeply regret marrying late, truly regret it. I've ruined myself, let myself waste away. My youth is gone. I used to be arrogant, looking down on ordinary people, always thinking I could find someone better, always keeping one foot out the door while looking for something else. Now I deeply repent. I know I was wrong. I'm guilty. I don't know how to wash away my sins. I'm so full of regret. Flowers may bloom again, but youth never returns. I was wrong, truly wrong. I beg for God's forgiveness. I made a grave mistake and delayed my own life. I feel deep self-blame and guilt. I also urge everyone not to marry late. In the end, you'll find that refusing to settle leads to being left with nothing rotting away in your own hands. I'm deeply remorseful now. I've let myself down.
现在如果你还没谈恋爱的人，无论你几岁，都应该去相亲角看看，那里聚集。
If you're still single, no matter your age, you should visit a matchmaking corner. There, you'll see a huge number of leftover people from society. It's a heartbreaking sight. Even their parents often show up there. It's pitiful, the hearts of parents, and it makes you sigh. Once I passed by Hangzhou's Wansongli matchmaking corner, and the scene was spectacular. It truly shocked me. As I've mentioned before, in every big city, the gender ratio at matchmaking corners is now 1 man to 9 women. 80 to 90% of the people there are the parents of women. It's a tragic scene. In places like Beijing, the number of leftover women is 4 times that of leftover men. There are at least 1 million single women staying single for the long term. I find it so strange. Many of these women have houses and cars, and their conditions are pretty good. But have you noticed their age? They're mostly in their 30s or older. For example, my mom's colleague's daughter a few years ago was earning 600,000 yuan a year in Hangzhou. Her parents had saved up a lot, raised her like a son, and as an only child, she has a house and a car. She's very ambitious, always busy with her career. But when it came time to talk about marriage, she was 35, shocking. A matchmaker introduced her to someone who met her conditions, someone with similar financial status and age, who also had a house and car and came from a decent family. But what happened? The guy met her briefly, and after a few days he backed out. Guess who he ended up with? A recent graduate, an intern, earning just 2,000 yuan, more than 10 years younger than her. I bet he's about to marry that post-00's girl soon. So many women really have this illusion when they get older. I have a car and a house, so I must be competitive, right? Wrong men who match your financial conditions will most likely go for someone young, pretty and vibrant, an intern who just graduated earning 2,000 yuan, more than 10 years younger. They won't choose an older woman like you. Some might say, well, can't a high-achieving woman consider a man with lesser conditions? Reality doesn't work that way. We all know the economic reality. Milk sellers would rather pour out their milk than give it to the poor. Real estate developers would rather demolish houses than let the poor live in them for free. So what's left in the matchmaking market? High-achieving women and low-achieving men.
大龄剩女果然是被挑的货呀。
Older single women really are treated like commodities, picked up and scrutinized only to be casually tossed aside if deemed unsatisfactory. I'm 33 years old and have already been labeled a leftover woman. Yesterday, I experienced yet another instance of being evaluated. Unsurprisingly, the other party decided not to place an order. This time, the man was introduced by one of my uncles. To be honest, apart from this uncle, the rest of my relatives have long stopped asking about my marital status. Everyone has silently agreed to avoid the topic as I'm already considered undesirable. However, this particular uncle has always been especially concerned about my future. He's the kind of warm-hearted person who grew up running around with me as kids. Even now, despite living in different cities, he still worries about my marriage. Yesterday, he suddenly sent me a message on WeChat asking me to send him a few photos. He said there was a man around my age, also single and looking for a partner. At that moment, I felt a tinge of excitement, fantasizing that maybe this time something might finally happen. I carefully selected a few photos I thought looked nice and sent them over, imagining a beautiful start to this fate. But reality hit me hard. The man took just one glance at the photos and replied, "I don't feel anything for her." And that was the end of it. Just like that, before anything could begin, it was over. Luckily, my mental resilience has become quite strong, and I was already prepared for such an outcome. I can accept it calmly. After all, matchmaking is essentially a two-way selection process. It's like buying vegetables. The seller thinks their goods are good, but the buyer has to agree. If the price doesn't match or the appearance isn't satisfactory, neither side will be happy. How can a transaction succeed under such conditions? Still, no matter how.
再过2-3个月都要过年了。
In 2 or 3 months, it'll be the new year, and I'm 35 and still single. So I've decided to stop looking. I'm going to lie flat. From now on, I'll eat what I want, drink what I want, and live as a free single woman. I'll be a female bachelor and just lie flat. I'm almost 35 and still not married. My classmates' kids are already in high school. Sometimes I think if I had married earlier, I'd have a husband and kids now, and that'd be great. Even if I got divorced, at least I'd have a child, right? But now I have nothing. Just me, a leftover woman.
我来自四川达。
I'm from Dazhou, Sichuan, and I'm here at Chongqing's People's Park, looking for a partner, wishing everyone a happy Chishi festival. I hope those who haven't found a partner can find one during Chishi.
武汉第一批剩女住进。
The first batch of leftover women in Wuhan have moved into nursing homes. Let's see what life is like for those who never married. Young people probably aren't interested in this topic because they haven't experienced it themselves. Moving into a nursing home feels like a distant future for them. But please watch this video patiently and you'll understand the seriousness of not marrying. Typically, these women were career-driven powerhouses in their youth. Back then, they were called outstanding four-high women, high education, high attractiveness, high-paying jobs, and high abilities. They were living the high life, free and glamorous, but they never imagined how bleak things would become. Now, living in a nursing home, their daily routine is just eating, taking a walk if they feel like it, chatting with other elderly people when they're in the mood, and repeating the cycle of eating and sleeping day after day, year after year. The glamour of their youth, their dismissive attitude toward those who loved them. Look at their situation now. There's no going back. This is Ms. Wang, 73, living in a nursing home. She wants to share her life story and her feelings of indifference based on her personal experiences. When she was young, because of her good conditions, she had high standards for boyfriends. She had 5 criteria. 1, he had to be handsome and 1, 8 meters tall. 2, his family had to be well off. 3, he had to have a good job. 4, he had to have a high salary. 5, they had to live a life just for the two of them forever. As a result, every guy she dated was scared off, but she never lowered her standards. Her flaw was being too confident, believing she'd definitely find her prince charming. Her parents' advice was useless. They earnestly told her, marry early, have kids. Early, that's the proper path, but she wouldn't listen. As the saying goes, no person stays fortunate forever, and no flower blooms for 100 days. Her prime years passed, and by her 40s, no one pursued her anymore. She rejected one outstanding man after another without mercy. She used to say, not marrying, not having kids, that's a happy life. No pain of childbirth, no hardship of raising kids, no trivialities of daily life or dealing with the elderly's needs. She thought those were a waste of her life. Accumulating wealth and moving into a nursing home was better, and everything would be fine. Now she regrets the decisions she made decades ago. Her peers are grandparents, but her parents passed away in a car accident, leaving her with no one to accompany, love, or care for her. She's felt a loneliness and pain she'd never experienced before. Misfortune struck again. She injured her leg in a cycling accident, and before it healed, she developed a high fever. Hungry, she had to endure it. Wanting a sip of water, she couldn't get it. Though she had a home, the big empty house had only her in it. She was genuinely afraid death was coming. Her only option was to rush to a nursing home to survive. But special holidays were particularly painful for her. In the shared room, her roommate glowed with joy, talking about how her children and grandchildren would visit today, her kids tomorrow, her relatives, and in the days after, bringing food and gifts. The room was filled with warmth. Her roommate often eagerly introduced her family to Ms. Wang, boasting about the joy of having children and grandchildren. They explained that their children were too busy, which is why she was in the nursing home to avoid awkwardness. Ms. Wang often hid, but the sadness and envy in her eyes could not change the reality. Her decision not to have children when she was young had brought her immense suffering in old age. No amount of savings could buy the joy of being surrounded by children and grandchildren. The loneliness, pain, and despair, when sick, were unbearable memories. With tears in her eyes, Ms. Wang says, "If my story can awaken older single women in society to marry and have children, that would be my greatest wish." She earnestly pleads with young women to understand that concepts like perfect independence or an idealized marriage-free life are meaningless. Without long-term planning, people will face severe consequences later. A home with both the elderly and the young is a true family. The indulgence of youth should not come at the cost of a miserable old age. When you have children, your life has hope. Watching your children grow and succeed brings meaning and joy to your life. That is a truly beautiful life. To all the young people out there, I wish you a happy and fulfilling marriage soon. May your parents find peace and happiness. Thank you for listening. Life is a journey with no turning back. Older single women, now facing loneliness and regret, are living lessons about the choices made in youth. When the vibrant years of youth pass, high standards and illusions of a perfect life sometimes cause them to miss precious opportunities to build a family and find true happiness. Don't let the mistakes of others become your own lessons when it's too late. Youth is the time to love, to build, and to create a foundation for lasting happiness. Marriage and family are not constraints but a shared journey where everyone can find meaning and fulfillment. Remember, no one is perfect, and happiness doesn't come from perfection. It comes from understanding, sharing, and sincere love. Instead of chasing unrealistic standards, cherish the simple yet meaningful things in life. For young people, don't let the beautiful days slip away, only to realize you've missed something important. Open your heart. Accept imperfection and value genuine relationships. Because in the end, a family filled with love and connection is what soothes loneliness and gives meaning to the years ahead. Looking at the issue more broadly, we see that the Chinese Communist Party's one-child policy not only caused a severe gender imbalance, but also created a broader social problem. The only children placed at the center of their families and raised with indulgence often refuse to compromise in relationships, prioritizing personal interests over long-term commitments. The consequence is that the future will see more and more older single people entering nursing homes, facing a lonely old age with no siblings, no children, and no grandchildren to visit. Additionally, extreme feminist propaganda and materialistic lifestyles have shaped a generation of modern women with unrealistic standards for choosing a partner. Desires for a luxurious, perfect life have led to unattainable illusions. Instead of focusing on building meaningful, lasting relationships, they chase fantasies. To avoid this tragedy, women in their youth should take time to cultivate their souls, focus on spiritual values, and nurture inner depth and virtues like empathy, kindness, and patience. Traditional family values, becoming a loving wife and a devoted mother, are the foundation of a fulfilling life. For men who are the pillars of the family, having a gentle, caring, and supportive partner is priceless. Therefore, for women, instead of setting unattainable standards, cherish spiritual values and genuine relationships. What do you think about this issue? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Your contributions inspire and motivate us. Thank you for watching the video. Please like and subscribe to the channel to stay updated with our latest videos. See you in the next video.